College football is back, and we're back on the big mountain with a very special guest.
Welcome back to the mountain. I am JY. This is my good friend Steve. And as Steve said, bringing on another guest, we want to talk about the San Jose Spartans traveling to Air Force in the first Mountain West Conference game. I'm very excited for this game, and I'm very excited to have Christian Vieyra on with us. Welcome, sir, to the Big Mountain.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Really
We're doing
good.
fantastic. We thank you for coming on here. I know you work with the Spear there in San Jose State. Just tell our viewers real quick kind of where they can find you, and then we're going to get into this game.
All right. Well, you can find me on X at the C Viera, and I write for the Spear, which is San Jose State student-run sports media outlet. I'm the co-exec of that, and I also do freelance work a little bit for the Mercury News, the local newspaper here in San Jose. So yeah, that's where I can find my stuff. Where recently this year I've been pretty much solely been writing about the football team after covering other sports in the past.
Awesome.
Great. Well, we got the right guy for sure.
Yes.
I want to thank him. We just reached out a few days ago and we got connected real quick. So thanks for your time here. And we'll make sure we put some of the links to that information in the description as well, so you can find Christian. Let's get into this. I want to start talking about the San Jose State offense versus this Air Force defense. You know, the defense for Air Force being their staple. That's what they're known for, you know, both a running game and playing strong defense. So, Christian, I want to start with you about the San Jose State offense. We saw, it kind of took them a little bit to get going here in game one, but my goodness, when they hit their stride kind of halfway through the second quarter and then the rest of the game, they just took off. So talk about the offense and your expectations for them going into this Air Force game.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned that slow start. Something that happened is early on was there was a few high snaps, and that was because of center Tyler Chen. But they subbed him out and puts in Hudson Mesa, who was listed on the two deep as the second, string. But he came in and after that, the snaps were down, and I think the offense kind of was able to move from that way. Emmett Brown, wasn't having to jump up to get those snaps, and
Right.
then we kind of saw what the spread and shred offense was advertised as. Big plays is what I heard from all these players who were excited, and going back to spring camp about all these big throws and the wide receivers with the opportunities to get all these yards, and that's kind of what we saw, and it was definitely an exciting brand of football to watch.
Nick Nash just gashing the defense there of Sacramento State. And Lockhart looked really good too. He finished with 4 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown. But, Nash was the guy, just crazy highlight reel stuff, throwing, having a pass touchdown in that game.
Yeah.
It was funny because they're on that TNT broadcast, the first for the Mountain West, which we really appreciated. They kind of talked about maybe some of this trickery that you may see with Nash. And sure enough, he's got a passing reception because he does have, used to be a quarterback back in the day. But fantastic there. Talk a little bit about the running game here. I mean, obviously the Air Force defense has been known as being very stout, very good against the run. How do you expect this spread and shred offense moving into Air Force? How do you expect them to handle what's likely to be a better defense than what they had in week one?
Well, to start up front, they're going to be getting back offensive lineman Maris Talivo. He missed the first week, undisclosed injury, but right before the game kicked off, we saw him on the sidelines. He looked like he was suited up, ready to play, and then he didn't go out there. And Coach Ken said that he wasn't able to go because the staff said so. But he's going to expect to be back starting this week, so I think that's a big boost. He's a team captain. I think John Estes, the offensive line coach, called him the alpha dog of the offensive line group, and I think he'll be able to lead the way up front. Because honestly, last week I didn't see it what I thought I would see from the running game.
Yeah.
From guys like Floyd Chalk and Jabari Bates. Another guy that we might see this week, who knows, is Lamar Radcliffe, a freshman that Coach Ken has mentioned since spring ball as someone who's continued to grow and impress him. And he's more of a bigger back compared to the other two backs who are smaller. And I know that's another thing Coach Ken mentioned is they want to be able to run the ball better against this Air Force team, because if you turn the ball over, you give the ball back to them quickly, they'll hold on to it for a week. So
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Yeah. And it's interesting that you mentioned the running backs there too. I was, slightly underwhelmed. When they have such a great game, you got to have to find some things that they can work on here. Once you put away that first quarter, the high snaps, as you mentioned, and the running game was okay. It wasn't spectacular. I'm anxious to see what it looks like again against this Air Force defense, who's been known to have a very stout run defense. They do have a lot of turnover here. We kind of saw them struggle a little bit with Merrimack. They didn't cover the spread. They didn't score a ton of points, but of course they only give up the one touchdown. So, it just looks like they're going to be kind of that Air Force team that the Mountain West knows really, really well. So let's kind of switch gears here a little bit. I want to talk about the Air Force offense against the Spartans defense. And just so much turnover here. I mean, Larrier was really kind of that key guy for Air Force last year. He really made that whole offense go. And he got injured there towards the end. And not the only reason, but, things started to fall apart for Air Force. They don't have him. They don't have their star rushing game players from last year. So how do you think the Spartans defense is going to hold up against this, kind of wait and see offense? We know they're going to run the ball. That's what they like to do. I told Steve they actually tried to throw the ball 14 times, or they had 4 attempts last week, which is a lot for an Air Force team. So how are you feeling here about the Spartans defense against Air Force?
Well, of course, I'm a little worried because, Air Force does what Air Force does, and they've been doing that for years, right?
Yeah.
But they are a young team, and so is our San Jose State's defense. Some guys I want to see who I believe would perform well are Sawane Toya, another team captain, defensive lineman, defensive tackle right there in the middle. I mean, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to perform well up front. Another guy I want to see play, I expect to play well, is Jordan Pollard, our linebacker. I believe he leads the Mountain West in tackles after week 1. So, yeah, I think, I'm a little nervous, though, because Air Force does what Air Force does. And although their offense didn't look great last week, who knows, maybe they're just, cleaning the gears out and getting ready to kind of get this well-oiled machine on the road.
Yeah, and I think Steve wants to maybe talk a little bit about that offense. Last week, their running backs, 55 carries, 166 yards total for an average about 3 yards per carry, which is slightly low, for them, since that is what they're known for. But they did have 3 rushing touchdowns, so they're banging them in via the rush. And I think Steve maybe wants to follow up on that.
Yeah, so I have a follow-up question there. So with Coach Ken coming over, obviously San Jose State's not running the same offense that he ran for so many years, but he is known as being an expert in this triple option offense. Do you think, does that give San Jose State any advantage where he can help them prepare? What's just the talk around the team as far as, Coach Ken? I mean, he knows this offense inside and out.
I mean, to start off with, Derek Odom was here. He's faced Air Force before, our defensive coordinator, but he did say that Coach Ken was able to give those little insights on those nuances about what, the triple option is, like whether it's what they do with the fullback and all the little, the different things that they can do out of formations and switching it up and what that opens up. So what Coach Ken has given tidbits is, from what I've understand, on, the little things about that offense. But at the end of the day, I think the defense knows they still have to line up and play physical and get ready to get hit in the mouth type thing.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about Coach Ken. Obviously he comes over here. You lost your past coach here going to Arizona with Brennan. They're running this spread and shred, as you said before, very different than what Coach Ken has ever run before. And I think he's really kind of allowing the offensive coordinator, the offense, to be run that way. Tell us a little bit more about what you've seen from Coach Ken and where you feel just the players and everybody's at right now with him being at the helm here of this ship.
To start off, it feels like everybody's bought into his, one thing he's always preached is this familial feeling and this familial vibe of that team. And I think everyone who's here has bought into that. And another thing too is he has taken a step back. He lets offensive coordinator Craig Stutzman, he's the play caller. He controls the offense. And of course he co-signs on any decisions when it came down to selecting Emmett Brown as the quarterback and stuff like that.
Right.
That was both of them making the choice, but he has taken a step back and let kind of more of almost like a general manager role. He's also heavily involved in recruiting, from my understanding. And, and there's a lot of new things now in college football with NIL, and here at San Jose State, it's not the best. So he's been trying to, go through those obstacles, but he's not as much an X's and O's guy this time around, I would say.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you mentioned Emmett Brown. So just one more question, then I want to hear from you about, what your pick is for this game, and then just over our expectations for the Spartans here for the season. But you mentioned Emmett Brown. They really didn't name a quarterback there. I kept checking every day. I'm like, okay, I got to update this. Who's going to be the quarterback? Who's going to be the quarterback? I kind of had an inclination it was going to be Brown, but they didn't really name him. I was impressed with him. And like you said, once they got over some of the snap issues and all that kind of stuff, he finished 20 of 34, 298 yards, 3 touchdowns. Again, a lot of those yards and touchdowns going to Nash. But I was impressed with Brown. Were you surprised that he was eventually named the starter? Do you think you'll see him be your starter, barring any injuries or anything like that moving forward?
To start off, yeah, I think he will continue to be the starter. They wanted one guy, and I think he's their guy. I was actually really impressed with him. Surprised, not necessarily. I think there was kind of a feeling around the building that he was going to be the quarterback, just kind of seeing after practice how he acted and, maybe running a few reps after with the other ones guys, just some routes in. So we kind of had a feeling, but, we didn't get that answer officially, and they purposefully withheld it. They want it to be a surprise when Sac State. But I was impressed. I was very impressed. I like his processing, his quick release. All of that impressed me, and I think he's the perfect quarterback to run this offense with this group of guys.
Yeah, great. He was impressive. And as I said, I'm anxious for this game. 2 Mountain West foes. And with that, let's get to where you think this game is going to end up. So doing our pick episodes, we did Wednesday evening. And I am not going to say anything about what I picked. I'm going to see where you think this game ends up.
Let's see. I think San Jose State is going to win their first time ever in Colorado, because they've never beat Air Force in Colorado.
Yep.
But I think Coach Ken, one of the major things he's preached is the discipline, and I think that'll show up. And I think Air Force has looked a little unexperienced against Merrimack. So I guess if I had to put a score out there, I think it won't be too high of a scoring game. Maybe San Jose State 28, Air Force 24. I guess I'll go with that. I think it'll be a close game, and our defense will struggle a little bit, I think, against the run. But ultimately, I think our offense's big plays will score enough points to get us over the hedge.
Yeah, I agree. Low scoring game. That's always the safest bet when you're talking Air Force anyway.
Of course,
maybe an Air Force team this year that doesn't have the talent that they had, at least last year, with some of those big play positions. So, yeah.
Hey, so I have a quick follow-up. We wanted to get your pick for the game because, we're talking about this game. I also, since we have you on here, I would love to just kind of get a vibe check from you about the program. This is a program who last year they were a tiebreaker away from being in the Mountain West Championship. And this year they were kind of picked a little bit lower by the media. So just what were your preseason? Can you just kind of give us a quick summary of your preseason expectations for the team? And now that we're into the season, you've seen the offense. Has it changed at all? And what's just the vibe around the program?
Oh, so preseason, I was expecting our defense to lead the way. And I think in that first Sac State game, it was the opposite. From what I heard, our offense had a lot of struggles, which you do expect from a new offense going against a defense who had a lot of guys returning, who had the defensive coordinator returning.
Yeah.
So going back to spring ball, it sounded like defense dominated up until, including in training camp leading up to week 1. So I was kind of a little nervous for our offense, but after week 1, seeing what a guy like Nick Nash can do in this offense, I'm feeling a little more confident. And the vibe, I think, now is if we do defeat Air Force, we might have a really good team on our hands, possibly a bowl eligible team by the end of the season.
Yeah, fantastic. I'll just let it out of the bag. The mountain or the Big Mountain guys know that I was down on Air Force this year. I actually picked them to be under the 4.5 wins. But if they win this game, as you predicted, I'm going to throw that bet out most likely, although they do have a very difficult Mountain West schedule. They're playing all the big boys in the Mountain West, and they have a fairly difficult out of conference. They get both Oregon State, Washington State. They get Stanford at the end of the year. So their schedule doesn't help them, but I'm with you. If they can get on a roll here early, especially beating Air Force in Colorado, whew, this could be an interesting season for the Spartans. Much more interesting than I thought it could be.
I think that
Yeah.
the San Jose State has a chance to really change expectations. And we talk about the spread and shred, but if this offense goes like it did the first week, we might be calling it the Nash and Gash here.
There you go.
After a little while.
Oh, there you go. That's an even better nickname for it. Yeah. Well,
Steve's good
that'd
at
be
coming
just-
up with that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, that's a great one.
yeah.
I mean, hopefully if they get on that, I mean, they will look to start 3-0 with Kennesaw State the next week.
Right.
So good
Absolutely.
momentum. So
Yeah, for sure. Yep. And momentum's everything in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, you even
Yeah.
saw it in the first game. Once San Jose State got that momentum, my goodness, there was just, I mean, the Hornets had no answer. They almost just folded. I mean, because they just kept coming, and the Hornets are like, they could never get any sort of momentum. Like, I thought maybe at halftime, they could get that tide to change a little bit, but my goodness, Spartans came out and like, nope, we got this, and off they went. So
yeah.
well, Christian, we thank you so much for coming on the Big Mountain. We'll stay in touch. Maybe we can have you back on in the future.
Of course. Yeah, I'd be willing to 100%.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it. With that, hey, make sure you give this one a like. Subscribe if you like our content. We're picking every Mountain West game this season. Going to be doing a preview of a Mountain West game almost every week. So this one is the big one, the Spartans versus the Falcons. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see you next time on the Big Mountain.